Hi everyone, my name is Nelly Thomas and I'm the author of 3 kids books, Some Girls, Some Boys and Some Brains. It is the 23rd of March 2020 and the reason I should tell you that is because we are in the middle of coronavirus lockdown isolation, and that means that I'm recording from home and you may hear various dogs, small humans, lawnmowers, who knows what else during this recording. You may also note my beautiful ISO cut. If the images of me you've seen in the book and elsewhere don't look like this, that's for a couple of reasons. One, professional hair and makeup, but also because about 2 or 3 weeks into isolation I got the dog clippers out and shaved my hair off. So it's going well. Look, I'm just going to chat you through some teacher's notes to accompany the 3 books. Now, I hasten to add I'm not a teacher. I literally have no idea what you need to know. But I'm just going to tell you my thinking in putting these books together. I'm going to do it in 2 videos. One is some sort of general questions and answers that would apply when reading these books to all kids, all 3 of the books. And then in the second video, I'll go through in a little bit more detail in each book about why I read it and why I made the choices that I made. Ideally, obviously, you'd watch both, but, do your best. So my first bit of advice, because it feels like I'm giving you advice, take it or leave it. My first bit of advice is that to be honest about the intention of the books, because I certainly am. I don't like, especially with kids, when we get mealy-mouthed about what books are about. My books, and here are the 3 of them, and I'll show them to you more closely as we go through. The intention absolutely is to challenge stereotypes, and I don't shy away from that. I want the books to be fun, I want them to be interesting, I want the kids to see themselves in the books, but I do not pretend that I don't have an agenda to challenge stereotypes, because I do in all 3 books. Another one, I think it's interesting with books like mine, where you clearly got an agenda like that to challenge stereotypes. There can be a tendency, and I feel it in myself and I've seen it in other adults, to jump down kids' throats when they get something quote unquote wrong. So to give you an example, Some Girls came out first. Now this is the first picture on the first page. You will find, particularly with younger children, but a range of children, that when they see that girl, there's every chance that they'll say that's not a girl. Now this to me is an opportunity, rather than going, that is a girl. Girls are allowed to have short hair. I know lots of girls wear short hair. That is an opportunity to go, really? Why do you think that? If you want this up here in your pocket, up your sleeve, whatever metaphor you want to use, I know that's a girl because it's my daughter. This book was written for her. So rather than jumping down their throats, another example would be the boy in Some Boys who's got long hair. This guy here caused a little bit of fuss, who's wearing a skirt. Same sort of thing. If someone is shocked, they are only conveying to you the messages that they've received in our culture, which is that boys and girls have to be certain ways. It's not their fault. Try and approach that with gentleness, and rather than telling them what to think, just ask questions. Now, a good way to do that, I think, is to gently provide counterexamples. So if we think, it's hard to say this will date very quickly, and this example probably already has dated, but I know with my kids I try and show them pictures of Pink, not the colour, the singer, because obviously she's a well-known woman with short hair. Katy Perry, I think Emma Watson, who's Hermione, has got short hair. In terms of boys with longer hair, there'd be boys like Dumbledore, might be a great example, Harry Styles. You'll find them. Or you might be able to say, let's say, for example, a kid says, oh, boys don't wear skirts. Maybe you could go, oh, no, they do. I know a boy who wears skirts. My nephew Kevin wears skirts, or whatever example you have in your own life. It's just a much more gentle way, I think, to expand their minds rather than correcting them. On the boys wear skirts, which is the one that confounds most of the adults, much less so the kids, might I add. They absorb difference a lot better. But there's obvious counterexamples historically and culturally. Kilts is the most obvious one. There's sarongs in a lot of cultures that men wear. There's thobes in a lot of Middle Eastern cultures. You know, this idea that men have never worn skirts or anything that's not a form of pant is simply historically not true and still not true. But in terms of even gender benders or men who just are more free to express themselves, you've got examples like Kanye West, you know, you've got Vin Diesel, you've got Billy Porter, and there's numerous others. David Beckham, I think, back in the day. And again, you may be able to find examples in your own life. To me, the important thing is to make sure that it's just normalised. So just kind of go, oh, really? You don't know anyone? You don't know any men who've worn skirts? Oh, I do. And just kind of leave it at that, rather than shaming them for simply conveying to you what they've been told. Same applies actually. So the first two books, as you probably gathered, Some Boys and Some Girls, are really, sorry, I'm having trouble with the camera, are really about gender stereotypes and celebrating difference. So they're not heavy-handed, I don't think, but they're really just kind of going, look, you might be a girly boy, you might be a tough boy, you might be, you know, a tomboy, you might be a sweet girl, you might be a combination of all those things. All of these things are okay. It's about honouring difference, not trying to make kids a particular way. Some Brains is slightly different. Again, it was written for one of my kids, and it is really about challenging stereotypes about neurodiversity. If you haven't heard of if you haven't heard of neurodiversity, the neurodiversity movement primarily came from activists on the autism spectrum who wanted people to understand that the stereotypes about autism had been very negative and damaging, but it applies to a range of neurological differences, and I've tried to go through many of those in the book and really celebrate those brain differences for the beautiful things that they offer the world. And again, just going back to giving examples, maybe have some up your sleeves, like do some research on famous autistic people or famous people who had ADHD or famous people who were dyslexic. I know in my household, Einstein is a much loved character for this reason. Anthony Hopkins, I mean, there's a range. You'll be able to find many, many examples of brilliant thinkers and artists and other types of people who've contributed to the world, who were on the autism spectrum or had a range of other neurological differences. The third thing I'd say is that I think it's really critical for you to understand that how you respond to these books or any books is a massive cue for how the kids think that they should respond. So if you come across, for example, the boy in the skirt and you go, that's weird, then they will continue to think that that's weird. Or if you're shocked and appalled that there's a little girl with short hair, then they'll be shocked and appalled, and they probably have learnt that elsewhere. For this reason, you'll notice all my books are very, very deliberately inclusive of kids with visible disabilities. But I didn't just want kids in wheelchairs and, you know, kids with prosthetic legs and other kinds of differences. I wanted those kids to be having fun. I am so sick of seeing, if those kids are included at all, they're sort of being read to in the corner or they're somehow sad. That is not my experience of people with disabilities, and certainly not my experience of kids with disabilities. So just as one example, see this girl here who's got a prosthetic leg, like she's in there, she's jumping around, she's playing part of the game. One of my favourites, because it was inspired by my late great friend Stella Young, who some of you will know. She loved dancing. So here is a picture based on Stella in a wheelchair at a ballet recital or ballet lesson. And you'll see many examples. There's kids with disabilities playing tug of war, there's others playing hide and seek. You know, there's a whole range of things. And it's very, very deliberate on my behalf to make sure that those kids are not just being included in the sense of, oh, we should include, you know, so-and-so or we're being mean. It's like they're included because they're fun and they're kids and they can have just as much fun as anybody else. So I would hope that when you're reading the book or the books, that you sort of mirror that and model that sort of attitude to disability. Not that it's a tragic inspiration for us all to learn from, but that these are just kids who just want to have fun, and they might require some adaptation, they might not, but either way, don't make them one thing or another from your own projection. Just let them be part of the game. Another handy tip, just a general tip, I think, is to get them to identify. So they don't have to be on the autism spectrum to enjoy the book Some Brains, for example. There's plenty of opportunities in there when it talks about strengths that some people have, you know, whether it's at the front of the brain. And obviously it doesn't go into the science of frontal lobe and all that sort of stuff, but that's what it's based on. So you can start to think about, well, what things am I good at? You know, am I naturally creative? Oh, that's mine. That's the one I can identify with. Or do I have trouble with puzzles? Oh, yeah, that's me. I do have trouble. That's not my strength. There's a page in the book where there's a whole range of hearts that talks about the fact that for a lot of kids on the autism spectrum, their feelings are huge. I mean, all kids' feelings are huge, but that they're very sensitive, and not to, not to make that a bad thing. That is often why kids with autism teach us a lot. But for example, all kids, whether they're on the autism spectrum or not, can have the opportunity when reading the book to choose which of these hearts they might be. So at any opportunity, they will not identify with every character. No one's expecting them to. But to work out, to use it as a springboard for discussion and for challenge. So if they do, as I've just discussed before, see a girl that they don't think's a girl, or they see a boy doing something that they, boys don't play with dolls, do they? It's an opportunity to go to point out examples of boys that do, but also to kind of say to them, so what do you like? Are there any boys, toys, trucks, blocks, or whatever that you like? And then maybe, have you ever liked dolls? Do you like to cuddle a teddy? To help them sort of expand their understanding and to allow them to be honest. If they absolutely, completely 100% fit the stereotype and they've never in their life wanted to play, with a Barbie, that's also fine. It's incredibly rare. I mean, once kids are given the opportunity to be honest, you usually find a much greater crossover and intersection between the things they're supposed to like and the things they actually like. But if that happens, fair enough. As long as they're given the space to be able to say without being shamed, oh yes, well, I like to play in the kitchen too, or I like to kick the footy if I'm a girl, whatever it is. Look, I think I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there, sorry. But you know what you're doing. Obviously read the books with an open mind, with an open heart. Let the kids ask questions. Personally, for me, there is no wrong question, even if it's absolutely offensive. That kid's just soaking up the stuff around them, whether it's from home, whether it's in our culture. We've all got a long way to go with this stuff. So I try with kindness and gentleness to just answer the question and check my own emotional reactions to both the books and the questions I'm asked, and to provide examples, I think, to provide counter examples in the real world that might get their brains ticking over and give them permission to be fully human and be whatever they want to be. Look, I really appreciate you listening to the video. Thank you so much for the vital and important work you do as teachers. I couldn't respect you more. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks everyone. Bye.